Hey guys, alright, so, this is gonna be fucking terrible, but I'm gonna try to narrate this. It's late for me. Still, this is the RU Classic something or other, whatever, I don't know, get out of here. I don't want to play you, Tor. Fuck that tier. I'm kidding, I like you a lot, but there was actually a five-way tiebreak to get into playoffs between, and I know I'm missing some of them, but the only ones that have played thus far are Boof, Slurms, and Feliburn. Feliburn just ended up losing to Slurms just a moment ago. I didn't catch all of it in time to properly record it, but it was an interesting enough series, at least from what I saw. I being pretty much only catching the last game, and interesting putting in a weird way. But yeah, now we got Boof on Felly, who Boof is now up one against Slurms and looking to pick up some others. So interesting teams. First of all, that play was insane. Going into Slazzle on the Dragalge to remove toxic spikes is nutty, and him going on to Gligar is also odd. Not sure what he was anticipating exactly. However, looking at the teams, they're pretty standard for the most part. I really, I'm kind of iffy on the idea of this many psychic weeks and only an Umbreon to cover it. I mean, you have loose checks like both Rhyperior and Mantine can stomach a hit, but something dedicated towards busting an Umbreon, and there's lots of Pokemon in the tier that are looking to do that. Stuff like Meloetta, for instance, that can Focus Blast to really burn through it. It's really going to harm it. I can only imagine that this is going to be a Scarf Heracross, because really the idea of a Flame Orb Heracross on a team with a Salazzle that is already seeking to break is somewhat of an odd prospect. I don't know. I'm not sure if I like the team on the whole, if I'm being quite honest, because it doesn't seem like it knows how to substantiate a win condition. It's just like, stack hazards and then have Salazzle beat up things, and that's about it. It's really odd to me. I think I like Boof's approach a bit more. The basic concept of a T-Spike team with Sharpedo in gaming is pretty nice, and I feel like Florges on the whole is getting really underappreciated right now, because a lot of people are really obsessed with Comfey, which I think is one of the most overrated Pokemon in this metagame, because it's alright, but it doesn't do anything until it can fully commit to an aggressive, taunt, calm mind sequence against this, that, and the other. And to do so, it has to burn through a lot of synth PP, and that it really, what word am I looking for? It really erodes on its ability to make a long term haul in a game. But I digress. And actually, this is kind of the reason why I don't like teams like this. It's very reliant on Salazzle playing a role in the mid game, and it's an SR week. It has to work off shit like actually coming in on attacks and getting wished up, for example. It's working out here, but on the whole, it's kind of a shaky prospect in my eyes. And he does make a good play, however, trying to get off as much damage as possible on the Sharpedo, really force that chip and go for the Acid Downpour, which of course goes through Protect. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but really it just wears on Sharpedo's Life Orb hits, which is what he's really looking to get at. Both Chestnut and Mantine are okay checks, but with Stealth Rock up and the possibility of Ice Beam, which I think is a perfectly good set, or even just Psychic Fangs going right in for that, is very nice indeed. I think that he probably
Hmm. Probably would have been a little better off just cutting his losses and going to Heracross. Because, again, if this is a Scarf Heracross, which I can only imagine it being, I mean, it's really tough. I think that just the matter of a team like this is kind of... He's put on an iffy position from the go because it struggles to switch in on much more than you would expect from the general decency of the defensive backbone. Like, this Florges, for instance, what comes in on this other than, like, Salazzle hard switch and Rhyperior loose check? It's okay, but yeah, that's, it's still taking that really huge chunk because Florges is actually immediately strong, unlike Comfey, and that's part of the reason I like it a lot more. And it in turn does very little with its turns. Like, it's, now threatening to just drop off in exchange for Stealth Rocks. However, let's look at the long term of this because I think that that's more important in the end. Poof still very much has to look out for Salazzle. He has Dragalge, which is definitely one of the better checks, especially with Thing being exhausted, but now that that's out, he does kind of have to trade for the... What am I saying? Goodness, for the free turn in Sharpedo. What I'm thinking he is, judging from what he played it as, reveals the HP Ice, which definitely good. He doesn't really have a Flygon response, so keeping it honest via that is probably in his best interest. I'm thinking that he might be Z Haze Dragalge, which is an alright set. Not, a fantastic one, but it offers that one-time recovery as well as, that phasing option. Goes to the waterfall, gets the crit. Not really that important. It prompts the protect a little more than anything else, but really he was kind of bound for it anyway, and it doesn't affect a whole lot other than potentially giving him a little more leniency to come in with his Scavalier. And brings the Mantine, as you would expect. Now he can defog, and probably should. I think it favors him a bit more just because he values his Salazzle a ton right now. It is the only thing that's really offering him up a sustainable win condition at this point, and I don't like that. Why did he go for Roost there? Either way, 48%. Generally, we're seeing Calm Mantine nowadays, so that is going to indicate a Spec Shaman. Not something that is seen a whole lot nowadays, but the extra power is most certainly felt with these teams that use somewhat loose answers to it. Things that, like your Scarf Cross plus Umbreon is a decently common thing for balances to use to quote-unquote stifle a Shaman whose combination of Spadef drops and decent coverage options just keep it a constant offensive threat, and drops the Chestnut for it. He is going to again bring in the Salazzle, and I think he really should have. This goes to show why he should have committed to the Salazzle a bit more and just defogged outright, because I think this... Oh, whoa, he hard switches. That is... Alright, so he did go for that, so I'm thinking almost definitely this has to be... Because either he choked real badly with that play where he is looking to get off that haze, which, of course, will also restore all of his HP. And with that, I am not sure... Oh, no, wow, he wasn't. Okay. That is very interesting indeed. He does get a crit, which, again, very problematic. But I'm really confused by that sequence, actually, because I would have thought, if anything, he would try to sack something like, say, a Scavalier, which, while decent, and, it can force out the Umbreon, is otherwise kind of useless, and concedes the fairly free defog to Mantine. I mean, assuming it doesn't burn, Escavalier will ultimately find itself beating the Mantine. Oh, wait, is it? Oh. Oh, okay, he was Z Drake. Okay, that's honestly an okay application on it, but yeah, I would have sworn that, again, with how he played it, it was going to be the Z Haze variant. Still, very, very interesting. Because as I said, well, I think that he's established a win condition now, because a sequence that I feel will end up going down is Florges having to take a hit for... Oh, that was his utility move. Okay, so now that makes a little more sense. So... Alright. With that done, Poof now has a better chance at winning. Because I thought what was going to happen prior to this point was that he was going to play into that Mantine aggressively, force in the Salazzle, have him... Yeah, no, that wouldn't even make sense, because he would be a little too high for that to work out. Yeah, I don't know what was... Jesus Christ, does this thing got scope lens somewhere? That is insane how that's been happening. Okay. The only... Like I said, as I've theorized, and I guess this Heracross has not come in yet, it should almost definitely be a Scarf variant, and him bringing it in would be obviously screaming Choice Scarf. However, I think there's really no reason for him not to go for it. I think that the sequence that will end up going down is he attacks here with Earthquake, and either Escavalier or Florges is forced to come in and pick it off, and from there on in, Salazzle gets a free plot on some... Yeah, I don't think that double was necessary, because unless he was anticipating this to be an SD Escavalier, which, on the whole, not a very common set. I have, in fact, very rarely seen ones that even have Drill Run. Either that or the Lefty set, but I guess it worked out. Oh my goodness gracious, that is the worst shit ever. Alright, notwithstanding, though, I do feel that, just to complete my thought, I think that he was in no position to make that double, because if he does just Earthquake, lock into that, Escavalier and Florges are really forced to kill him. I don't see, rather, an SD Escavalier being an option, and the only thing that Florges would do would be Calm Mind, and with Earthquake pressing, a good 30 to 40 range, I'm not sure the exact number, it's not going to be getting enough traction to actually, threaten the Escavalier with an OHKO. It would have to get, I believe, a whole lot of boost. I can't tell you the exact number offhand, unfortunately. So he would have established that free turn to get the plot either which way, and not been threatened in turn. So, unless he's just bluffing the Earthquake altogether, in which case, but I mean, still, you could at least go for the close combat to do more or less the same thing. And even potentially, punish the hell out of the Escavalier coming in. So, just feels odd to me. Nonetheless, Boof really kind of lucked out in this game, even though I did like his team a bit more. And I guess we'll get back to you in the next one. Alright, so, yeah, God, I'm tired, Jazz, I'm sorry. We're bringing it back with another game, and this time, Oros, a little bit more of a regimented tier, and one that I can hopefully offer a little bit more insight in, though, honestly, these teams are, again, kind of odd. There's, ooh, gracious me, something of a standard defensive backbone from Feliburn. Seeing 2 Aromatis in a game is fucking insane. Oh, actually, yeah, they're talking about it too, but, yeah, Aromatis, Pokemon that I think a lot of players would mistakenly think is like a really essential member of RU until you realize just how inconsistent it is as a Pokemon, for the fact that it has to fulfill a lot of specific roles that include infrequently getting itself knocked off, which results in it having to, receive its own wishes and cleric support so infrequently. There's a small niche in it, which is something that reinforces it over the other fairies of the tier, in that it can avoid being taunted, and something like a Jellicent, which was increasing in popularity with the back end of Oros, cannot directly impact its ability to perform this role. But looking at this team, there are 2 orientations that we can look at here, both of which are at least slightly possible. We could be seeing a stealth rocking Druddigon and a curse Registeel as orientation that I think I would like a little bit better than the alternative of a standard stealth rocking Virizion, or standard stealth rocking Registeel, pardon me, and a Moldbreaker Stealth Rock Druddigon, which has the distinction of being able to set up Stealth Rock into the increasingly popular, with the, again, later ends of the tier, Xatu, among other things. It can also threaten Golbat particularly consistently. I liked the set of Dragon Move, Thunder Punch, Earthquake, which usually can pretty consistently threaten that kind of thing. And right now we're seeing Rhyperior play into Aromatis, and while the stealth rocking is obviously all well and good, I am not entirely sure what he's trying to think of. I think the most I can speak on of this is that he... Okay, so he does go for the Tox again, predicting the Jellicent, or rather, predicting much of anything. There's very few Pokemon that would not take Toxic well, or that would take Toxic well, pardon me. But I think more than anything he was trying to push the damage, because something like an Escavalier, unless he is the fairly uncommon fast SD set, which a decent set, and one that saw plenty of play, a little bit of play. I think it's a decent set, but not a whole lot. At the later, again, I keep saying that, I feel redundant as hell. I'm sorry. It's not a set that I'm expecting. I am expecting the Rust talking variant on a team like this, what with its bulky inclination and use of a cleric. Still, that is a very strong import. Either Feliburn is opting in favor of a slightly more offensively geared defocking Flygon, something that he has shown an affinity for in the past and is something to consider, or that is a banded Imbor, or even some combination of the two. It's definitely a banded Imbor. It's probably indicative of a slightly bulkier, or a slightly less bulky Flygon. Pardon me. So I see an interesting double. I'm not sure what that sought to cover. Perhaps. Yeah, I'm not sure what they were looking for on that. From Feliburn's end, what was he looking to counterplay on Roost? Because I think that Jellicent finds turns to. It doesn't need to get a recover off at this point. That one's befuddling to me. Maybe I'm just tired, but yeah, I don't totally get that. So, Boof throws out a Will-O-Wisp on the anticipated switch. I guess something to, in part, keep Sneasel honest. Perhaps bluffing the Hex to some extent, but I feel that if he had Hex, he'd have shown it a little bit earlier, since there was an Jellicent on Aromatisse sequence, and that's the kind of thing that really forces it to, push its wish PP and, really force something. Though, hard to say. Okay, actually, wow, given that kind of absorption, that is maybe just an almost no HP invested Flygon and just a jolly, or rather a Scarf Imbor. Goodness me. Not sure. But, however, in this sequence, has he conceded a Heal Bell as of yet? He has not, so Jellicent is still toxic. And bearing that in mind, Feliburn is put in an interesting situation where he has to gauge whether that is a... It's interesting to see a Protect there, actually. Oh, wait, he did get a... When did he get the Heal Bell off? Am I insane? Oh wait, Aromatherapy. I'm stupid. Therapy. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Frightfully sorry. But it's interesting to see a Protect from the Aromatisse there all the same, because generally speaking, we have seen very few freaking choiced or otherwise non-utilitized, I'm pretty sure I'm making a word up there, the Escavalier. Most of them either will see these kind of bootleg utility variants with Toxic Pursuit, etc., or you would see SD variants. And with that, we see a pretty solid play from Boof, getting that quote-unquote 50-50 correct, and allowing his non-Colbur Jellicent, which generally will run Colbur, if only to help play around that Pursuit trap that is ever so common in this tier. However, I think that one way or the other, with Cleric support on both ends, he was at a little bit more liberty to, try that Pursuit. Still, not entirely bad from either end. I think that the way this is going, Feliburn should keep steam a little bit longer than Boof, though, unfortunately. I think that his ability to push any kind of offensive agenda is a bit stifled by the use of these choice mons. Nothing to really, consolidate a win. And wow, he actually did go to the Flygon there. That is interesting. Also, this does confirm I forgot to mention, because this happened way back, and wow, this is just going to be a stream of conscious ass narration. I'm sorry, guys. But it does confirm that, of course, as a stealth-rocking Registeel, this will be a Life Orb Druddigon, and feeding it a free turn is dangerous indeed, because it can pack Gunk Shot. A set that I saw, not necessarily T-Mond, but discussed upon in brief, was Gungshot, Thunder Punch, Earthquake, Sucker. Something that I wasn't necessarily a fan of for more than one reason, but we're not seeing that here, fortunately, and I think that Thunder Punch on the whole, not just because that is absolutely worthwhile, it is a very threatening coverage option just because, first of all, it does hit a whole lot more than Thunder Dragon Claw, especially with its sheer first boost. And, committing to Outrage in this day and age is just absolutely awful. Not only because, fairies exist and whatnot, but because bulky waters such as Alamola that can kind of just sit on it otherwise exist, and that's no good. Plus, on top of that, we have Glalie and Sneasel, both of which pick you off on balances. More so Sneasel, because Glalie is, I've seen it on these Blastoise Registeel teams, but I don't much care for them there. I feel they're best used on certain bulkier offenses, especially something like a Xatu, I think, is probably the best application for Galili's I have yet seen, or at least the best set of its, which is, the spikes only ice attack type variant. Still, with the conditions set up of Flygon gone, we do now have a position where this Emboar can do a little work in spite of being what we expect to be choiced. If it's not choiced, he's been doing a real good job bluffing it. Until this point, that would be absolutely vicious to Feliburn, because that would mean that he can Flare Blitz here and thereafter Wild Charge into the Jellicent. And that crit does neither player any favors. I think that, there's a chance that Drud could have Sucker Punch and be able to, chunk off a little bit extra, which would certainly help. Actually, even put it into Sneasel Revenge Killing range, which might perhaps come into play if he decides to, go against just going to the Jellicent, which would not hurt. Pardon. But even more so than that, this opens up to absolutely free Volt Switches on his own Rotom's end. And is this going to live, or is this, okay, that is going to that. Ooh. Alright. So I guess that he is confident that his own Jellicent is faster. Which is interesting. And I'm only now appreciating that we see two leftovers Jellicents, because, in spite of my comments about Colbur being, I think, generally like a bit better, I do so enjoy a good leftovers Jellicent, because it just improves it in so many other facets with just handling everything, and being able to instigate those taunt recover sequences. It just does so much better in all of those regards, and if it weren't for the fact that Pursuit being, such a common facet of a lot of really quintessential balances, I would always use leftovers. It's just so good. We're talking more about how Romersis is ungood, which, I don't necessarily disagree with. I don't think. Yeah, I totally want it on. Due in part to the presence of freaking Alomomola, which is a just beautifully consistent Wish Passer, and its ability to synergize with something like a Grand Bull, which also very efficient Pokemon, is real good. That's odd. That one's odd. while I understand that his Sneasel will, wow, that's brutal. Jesus. I mean, this would have forced a recover on his end at worst, but part of me has to say, was it worth not going to Sneasel? I have to consider that. How healthy is the Scaff there? I think that it would have meant at worst he could, play some 50s. But, like, really? I don't know, dude. Tough call. But we do see here that it is SD Escavalier making the protect play with Aromatisse earlier, which maybe I completed the thought of, maybe I didn't. I don't know. I'm trying my best, guys. But Let's see. I think there's... However, in spite of all this luck, I think there's still at least like a very minor chance of Jellicent still being able to pull this back if this is a non-spectacled Rotom Mow, because if that is the whoa, I don't agree with that. All right, well, what this does instigate is this is actually really interesting because okay, it didn't, but all right, oh wait, yeah, is it? Okay, it was E-Belt Boar, so that's what I was thinking, and alright, man. I would have strung this together a little better if it was like 5 p.m. But that's how it goes. Still, I liked the thought with Fellaburn there, because what he was shooting for was, in fact, creating that 50-50 with Scarf versus... Oh wow, that did just die. That's insane. Okay, but... So I can complete this thought and at least have something to my name. Fellaburn assumed that the Emboar was Scarf, and therefore that this Rotom was Spec. Something of a natural conclusion. Generally, you don't see a dual Scarf in any metagame, let alone RU, where it's, bulk-centric. So that being said, he decided to try for the double to Sneasel on the Rotom, and therefore try for the Pursuit play, because if he pursued that Rotom, he was able to, last with Jellicent. It was something of an aggressive push, but it worked in theory. However, Boof revealed that he was Scarf, and, really, Fellaburn should have been picking between Ice Shard and Pursuit anyway. So I guess, in a sense, Boof won the 50. So, quote-unquote 50, because that's always that kind of shit. But, pulled it off. Sort of an unfortunate series for all the RNG elements, but something of an interesting one to look at nonetheless. And, hey, if I uploaded this, guys, appreciate you, and sorry that it was so fucking goofy, but